All right, welcome to LyonStrong, the place where you get to become who you were designed to be. All right, my name is Lionel Lamarck. I am the host of the show. I'm excited today to have a new guest with us, which is someone that's been around me for a long time. So I really want to make sure that you guys get to meet this guy. He's incredible. He's one of my longtime clients. We've been working together now for, I believe, 9 years or close to that anyway. And it's been an awesome journey. And I want to introduce you guys to Peter MacNamara. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate you coming and participating and being here, because really, I think your story is something that's pretty amazing. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of that. So thanks for being here, man.
My pleasure.
So now tell us, Peter, you have quite an interesting history, man. You've been pretty active all your life. You've done a lot of different things. Why don't you kind of walk us a little bit through your journey?
Well, it started probably when I was around 10 years old with competitive swimming and up in Philadelphia, and then cross country in high school, and then we moved to Miami, and things switched a little bit. Then swimming took much more center stage because of the nice weather down here.
Okay, and, so how'd that swimming thing go for you?
It went pretty well. I mean, it took some getting used to swimming in the warm water.
Right.
We were used to really bitterly cold water. They would call practice because it was too cold, and my two brothers and I were swimming laps. So they thought we were crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So now I know we had an interesting talk about your swimming and the things that have happened there, right? Because I think in the beginning you mentioned that you've had a bunch of swimming coaches, and there was an interesting thing about every one of those coaches that you work with. What was that?
Well, all the coaches that I worked with, for the most part, were adult supervisors as opposed to coaches. So their coaching really didn't amount to much than passing old wives' tales down to us. And in Lansdale, in Philadelphia, we had a new coach, and we won a swim meet, and we threw the coach in the pool, and then we had to jump in after him to save him because he couldn't swim. So,
okay, so that's interesting. Somebody giving advice about something that they've never done themselves. That must have been quite an interesting journey.
So the first good swim coach I had, I was 45 years of age, and it was actually a gentleman who taught my kids how to swim, and he was an Olympic swimmer.
Wow.
And but at 45 to start over is a little late. So,
well, I would say late, just a little bit different, right?
Yeah. So mostly I kept it to swimming laps in a pool at the gym, and took up cycling. So that became my passion.
Okay.
And then having given that up, but I don't do road bicycling anymore because of age, and it's just too busy in Miami to safely ride a bike on the streets.
Right. When you say age, a lot of people are looking at you like, dude, you look like a little spry young man. What do you mean age? What are you talking about?
I'm 73 and a half. I'll be 74 this summer. So it's catching up to me.
Amazing, though. But I mean, at 74, how do you feel now, though, compared to like when you were a young, spry 45-year-old learning how to swim?
Well, I felt really good up until 70 and 71. And then a couple things that were passed down with my father's genes caught up to me, and you think, well, okay, he had that, but I won't. And so that caught up to me, and that was sort of a rude awakening. But because of all the training that we had done here, it didn't hit me nearly as hard as it could have, because I was in good shape. And even through these treatments, I've been able to continue to train.
Yeah.
Not like I could before it started, but probably 80%.
Which is pretty amazing. So kind of let's go, because I mean, I think a lot of people are hearing this right now. They're kind of not exactly knowing and understanding what's going on. So I kind of want to help set the stage and help them understand what you're referring to. When you started with me, your experience was doing a ton of road cycling. I know you mentioned that you guys would do 100-mile rides, like at least on a weekly basis. Am I correct?
Usually on the weekends, we'd go down to Homestead or go around the farms or even go down to Key Largo and back.
Holy crap, that's
We'd go down to Homestead and then come back and go to Key Biscayne and back.
wow.
So, so we'd leave at the morning, Saturday morning or Sunday morning would start at 5 in the morning, and we'd try and be home sometime early afternoon.
Wow. Okay. So that was some serious writing that you guys did. And I remember when I met you, that initial meeting, I remember that was because you guys were trying to get ready for your daughter's wedding, right?
We wanted to lose a couple pounds.
Yeah, I remember that very fateful meeting when we sat down and talked, and you guys had about, 4.5 months or something like that to get ready for the wedding, and you wanted to be sure that you could actually do that. And do you remember our conversation? Because I do vividly.
Honestly, I was just humoring you and humoring Terry because I thought I was fit. And then you started testing me on a couple of things to see what I could and couldn't do, and it was like a bad moment.
Yeah, I can imagine, huh?
Yeah.
It was kind of an eye-opener, huh?
Yeah, and the things I was doing incorrectly. My form was terrible.
Right?
And then there was also the problem of not being able to do enough, or you could do 10 push-ups or sit-ups, but you couldn't do that twice or 3 times.
Yeah, right. That was definitely something. Well, I remember you guys had this you had this aura, so to speak, about you that, well, I can do anything. I mean, I'm in good shape. I can do whatever. And once we actually started moving, it was pretty much, oh crap.
Yeah, it was an eye-opener.
Yeah, so we kind of we had our goal set, really. Number one, to be able to get you to fit into your suit the way that you wanted, right, into the tux that was ready for you, and to be able to get Terry to wear that sleeveless dress that she was supposed to at the wedding and feel good about it. So we kind of had to go through some things, right, to be able to help you dial in what to do and how to do there.
Yeah, you made it clear, and you weren't being rude or anything about it. It was just a matter of fact that while my legs were highly developed, my core was not developed at all.
Yeah.
And my arms were only partially developed by swimming.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of aspects of my physical development that had just been ignored. And so that was like starting from scratch. But it had to be done.
Yeah. And we started that journey at what, 65, 64?
Something like that. Yeah, it was about 9 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Amazing, huh? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are thinking, well, I'm 50-something, I'm 60-something, it's too late for me to start anything. What would you say to them about that?
It's never too late. It's better to start when you're younger, because then you can gain more traction as you go along. So I've had 2 setbacks. One was the pandemic, and I just stopped working out during the pandemic, so my conditioning slid. And so when I came back to work out with you, I was heavier. And you pointed out to me that not only had I gained weight, but that I had lost muscle. And I think that was the real shocker, because you work so hard to put that muscle on, and then you find out that you've just squandered that away. And then you start all over again to get back to where you originally were. So that was a rude awakening, but you have to take it as it lies and move forward. You can't say, okay, it's a hopeless case. It's not a hopeless case.
Yeah, you're still standing. You're still here. So definitely not hopeless.
And it's helped me in a lot of ways. Over the last couple of years, I've fallen twice and not hurt myself at all, because I know how to fall and I'm conditioned, so I have not gotten injured. And I owe that to the conditioning.
And also, one other thing that I'm going to add to that, man, your bones are strong as hell. So you're not going to break anything. I mean, not like your typical someone around your age group, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's the most common cause of issues, and actually the most common cause of death for the aging population, is a fall and breaking either a hip or anything below that. So,
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, I'm so glad that you don't have to be worried about that being an issue for you, because we've done all the right things to prevent that.
Yeah.
So, man, wow. So tell us now, I know that when you started, there were a lot of things that you'd suffered, quote unquote, before, from rotator cuff injuries to knees and things of that nature. And that was some kind of a little concern from you about the start. You know, how was that whole experience going forward?
When I was younger, in my late 20s or early 30s, I blew out both knees in marathon training. And that really set me back because then there wasn't a lot I could do.
Right.
But the cycling brought my knees back. But then other issues arose, and then I had to be careful of those situations. But in each case, you were able to tailor the workouts so that I could come back and I could do what I can do. I had both rotator cuffs torn in separate bicycle accidents going over the handlebars. One, a car pulled in front of me, and another one, a dog pulled in front of me.
Oh, man.
So, but I can do what I could do before. I'm careful of my right shoulder. My left shoulder is healed. And that's not supposed to happen. I was told that I would never be able to lift anything heavier than 25 pounds. And I do that all the time.
Yeah. And you do that without a problem now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Not even thinking about it.
Yeah, it usually kind of remind me afterwards that, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be able to lift this, and this was twice as much or whatever the amount was that you were actually able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And how else have you seen improvements? I mean, besides the rotator cuffs feeling better and your knees not being a problem anymore, how's that like?
Well, you have analyzed what my weaknesses are, and you tailor the training to improve on my weaknesses. One of the weaknesses I came in with that I would have never guessed is I have problems breathing. I don't breathe correctly. And you've worked with me on that. And you've worked with me on other things, balance, squats. And also, and the reason I bring up squats is because it's not hard to do a squat correctly. It's hard to do a squat correctly every time because you get lazy, you get distracted, you get tired, and you get sloppy. And what you've taught me to do is take each squat and do it like it's the first one and not the last one.
Right.
So that you don't do it incorrectly. You don't get any benefit from doing an exercise incorrectly.
That's true. And the benefit from that for you, I think, has been the fact that you've been doing this and you haven't gotten yourself like injured. You've been able to continue, you've been able to move, you've been able to continue building strength. Even coming back from that setback with the pandemic, I mean, that was a big one, right? Because that was pretty much a year that you guys didn't really do as much as you should have. And
well, it proves the point that I can't train myself because I'm not disciplined enough. I've always got an excuse not to work out. Well, when you have to be somewhere at a given time and in a given place, and you have the workout already prepared for you to address specific issues that you need addressing, then it's not a problem to do it. But if I had to do it on my own, I wouldn't, or I would just go to the pool and swim laps. So,
yeah, right.
but you're doing the same thing every time you go, so you're not making any improvements. You're just maintaining what you can do in the pool.
Well, really, if you think about it, you're not maintaining anything, because the reality of it is, because you did what you were familiar with, what was easier, quote unquote, for you to do, right? You didn't challenge anything. The result was at the end of a year, you lost. You actually went backwards, right? And so I say this all the time: you're either growing or you're dying, and people don't like me saying it because they're taking it as the wrong thing. What I'm saying is simply this: you're either doing things to move yourself forward and get better, or if you, by standing still, quote unquote, doing the same things to maintain, you are actually falling behind and in a sense, dying because you're getting weaker, you're not getting as strong, you're losing muscle mass. Sarcopenia is real, especially when you're dealing with someone in their 70s. So if you're not doing anything actively to make sure that you are building more muscle and keeping that up, you will lose what you worked so hard to build. And this is kind of what happened to you.
Well, particularly during the pandemic, I just thought when this is all over, I'll just jump on
Pick up where you left off?
Yeah, and that's not the case. You're older and you're weaker because you haven't maintained the training.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you want to do is not only do you want to maintain what you have, but you want to move forward and gain whatever's out there to be gained so that you have that for as you get older. And what I could do 9 years ago, some of those things I can't do now. I can't take those things up from scratch now because I'm almost 10 years older. But because I have that background, I can do them now because I've moved past those initial stages.
Right.
So it's building. You're building a bridge to better health and mobility. And the other thing that you've focused on that at first I didn't think two thoughts about it, but now you've focused on balance. And now that I'm older, I'm like, that's a good thing.
Yeah, because I mean, the type of work that you do, right, forces you to pay attention to how you stand, how you move, how you do everything.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing the benefits of that in real life situations, not just in workouts.
And when you feel yourself losing balance, you just tighten up certain muscles and you're fine. And you're like, glad I've got those muscles, because if not, I'd be on the floor.
Yeah.
So you sort of take it for granted, but as you get older, that goes away unless you maintain it.
Yeah. And I mean, definitely with the things that we do here, we're constantly challenging you in that respect. So you're not losing those. You're getting stronger and stronger as time goes by.
Yeah, and to be honest, I questioned it to myself, not to you.
Yeah, because I never heard that from you before.
What's all this motion? And then you're like, oh, now I understand. You're trying to keep me on my feet.
Yes, kind of important place to be. Yeah, no, that's very good. See, that's one of the things that I love about working with you guys. Have been really fun for me because watching your whole development, seeing you start from where you were and then making the huge progress that you guys did for the years and years and years that we worked together, and then taking that step back, right, from the pandemic, coming back like, okay, crap, we've fallen behind, we're not where we used to be, but then you still put in the work to get back to there and then some. So it's been really amazing to see. But then you mentioned something earlier, but we didn't go into details, and I'd like to do that now if it's okay with you. But you mentioned the second setback that you've had. This is the thing that's been hereditary, so to speak. Can you kind of go into a little bit of detail about that? Because I think people out there would be kind of interesting to know what is it that happened and what is it that's actually the issue, and how being here has actually helped you transition and go through all of that.
Yeah. Well, I started, I've always had a very strong heart and a low heart rate, what they call, for a slang term, an athlete's heart. But it's hereditary. And about a year ago, my Apple Watch diagnosed that I was pre-AFib. And so I've had to take it easy, but because of my conditioning, I have not had to quit working out. I'm more careful now, and I pace myself so that I don't put any stress on my heart, but I've been able to maintain my training. So, and this is a family thing that I got it from my father. So you don't think you're going to, but then someday it pops up and you're like, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, and this is like, and really, there's absolutely nothing you could have done to prevent that from happening.
No.
So all the training you've done, all the conditioning, all that, none of it had any effect on this because this would have happened regardless. I think the difference for you is the fact that you were already in the conditioning and the shape that you were in has made all the difference in making sure you're staying alive and not actually like...
Well, and spotting it early.
Yeah. Exactly, because you're in a position where you don't have to be a statistic and victim to this thing. You now we're able to kind of handle it, move forward, and make some pretty cool things happen. So now talk about now, like what is it like for you now? I mean, coming in and doing your training. Number one, having to make sure that you still kind of work around what's going on with that, but then number two, also with all the movements and the things that we're doing, that's so different than what you were used to doing before. How's that been helpful? How's that been good for you?
Well, I think that the movement is really important, because as you go through your life other than in the gym, you're constantly in movement. Mm-hmm. And you don't know necessarily what your next move's going to be. If you have to duck a car or a tree limb or whatever it is, mm-hmm. you have to be able to do it immediately, and you have to be able to do it competently so that you don't get hurt. And by doing these exercises with motion, it helps my balance. And my balance as a child, we used to joke that I had 4 left feet.
Not just 2, huh?
Yeah. So that 2 were tripping over the other 2. So, but this has helped me now to maintain my balance and to know when I'm out of balance. And then I stop, slow down, and work on the fundamentals again.
Yeah.
So you don't just say, to hell with it, and keep going. You say, okay, let's correct that and get back where we were before.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen until you're tired.
Yeah.
And some of your exercises, the first round is the toughest, because you're getting your muscles to adapt to the new training. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's at the end when and I'm sure you're intentionally pushing us to see how we will do when we're tired, because that's when you make mistakes, and the mistakes can be corrected right away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, the approach is always different based on what's going on and where you're at, right? And I think with you've seen this, everything that we've done has been specific to making sure that you're improving.
Yeah, and you've never asked us to do anything that we couldn't do. And you're watching, and sometimes I'm ready to go on, and you're like, no, you're done.
And you're like, but what?
So, yeah, it gets to the point, one of my favorite sayings is that you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's me. I don't know how to train myself, and I don't know what the limits of my body are, because I'm inside me. I'm not outside as a neutral observer. So working with you choose, and I always sometimes see what's on the board that we're going to be doing that day, and I'm like, where's he going with this? and I don't know, because I'm not a trainer.
Right.
So you just shut up and do the workout, and you listen and do what you're supposed to do. And then as it goes on, from time to time, you say, okay, I can see a little bit of where he's going with this. But and you let it go, because you don't see the whole plan, nor do you need to. You just need to do what you're asked to do.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too that's really transpired over the years is there's a certain level of trust that's built in here, right? Because you know that 100% everything that I do is geared towards making you better. I never ask you to do anything that will put you in harm's way. And so you can trust the fact that whatever it is, no matter how difficult or impossible for you it may have seemed at the beginning, is something that you're going to be capable of.
Sometimes you ask me to do workout with weight that I think I can't handle, but I do it, and I do handle it. Sometimes you'll reduce the weight, and I'm almost offended, because I'm like, hey, I can do a higher weight, and you're like, no, you're going to do this weight, and you're going to thank me for it. And then by the third round, you're like, yeah, he was right.
Yeah, because I mean, it's really important to make sure that you guys are getting the right thing all the time. The stimulus is important, right? The challenge, everything, all of that matters. And so it's really cool to see you develop and pay attention and grow in the way that you have. I mean, despite the challenges, despite the setbacks and things that you've had, despite all those different things, you've really made incredible progress.
Yeah. And I always sleep well after one of your workouts. And the next morning that you've worked out the night before, but you're not hurting.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's probably the best part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know every time you leave, you're expecting, I'm going to be sore from this one. And then you wake up and you're like, I'm not. Oh, this feels good.
Where the line is, and you go up to the line, but not over the line.
Yeah.
But you're doing that for me.
Right.
So you're not doing that for yourself.
Not at all.
But you know from your years of teaching where that line is for each one of your people.
Yeah, and it's a fun thing to do, man, to be able to see you guys develop like this, to see the progress. I mean, you've been an inspiration from day one. I've told you this. Watching you guys go through that initial part, making the changes that you did, being able to fit and look the way as cool as you guys looked at that wedding, man. I mean, I wasn't there, but damn, I'm going to have to say you're probably one of the best looking couple there, right? I'm sure everybody was kind of gawking at you guys like, man, look at them. Beaming, shining, looking fantastic.
Well, and initially the thing that we were concerned about is we said, listen, if we're not giving 100%, he's going to say, what am I wasting my time for if they're not willing to put in the time and effort?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that you realize that you think you're in shape, but you're not. And then it's frightening, and you're like, I got to catch up.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you guys decided to continue, right? Because I think one of the things was the initial part was you were thinking that you're going to do this until the wedding, and then after that, you're done. You're going to figure it out on your own, right? I mean, we did have that conversation in the beginning, didn't we?
We thought it was going to be really simple.
I remember one of the first ones was like, how long are we going to do this? Well, we'd like to train maybe like once a week with you, and then the rest of the times we'll figure it out on our own. So do you think we'll be able to hit that goal? I was like, yeah, if it's in 2027, absolutely.
Well, and a lot of people think that way. They do the same thing every time they go work out. So when I went to the pool, I swam a mile and got out of the pool, showered, and went home. The next time I came, I swam a mile, showered, and got out of the pool. Nothing changed. So I wasn't making any progress towards anything.
Right, but the thing is, you absolutely were not aware of that. And it's a sad thing because there are so many people out there that are kind of doing the same thing. There's a routine that they follow, there's a system that they do, there's a thing that they're into, so to speak, and they do that consistently, religiously. And they feel in their mind, because of the effort that they put in, they broke a sweat, right? They're whatever, they're out of breath, they're tired, that hey, I've made some progress today. Probably not. Most likely, definitely not. So it's a shame though, because all that time can be put in towards something that can really truly make the difference for them, and you just simply don't know. And so it's really important for me to help get this message out there to the public and let them know, man, that there's so much that you guys can do that you're not aware of. And we want to be able to give you the opportunity to come in, learn it, put it to work, and really make some awesome things happen with it.
And there's so much that has to be done. There's such a wide range. You've worked out muscles that I didn't even know I had.
That's the best part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Waking up things in your body that you didn't even know were asleep.
And the same thing, I remember when you tested me for core, and I was like, I don't have any core muscles. And I didn't, but I was supposed to.
Right. No, you had them, just weren't sure how to actually activate and utilize them, right? And so the cool thing is now, the things that you do, I mean, the strength that you have in every area of your body is pretty amazing to see. I mean, when I look at the fact that you're basically 74 years old, or almost 74 years old, the things you can do, that inspires me. And I tell you this all the time, right? Because it's not because I'm trying to, shoot bubblegum up your butt or anything. I mean, it's just literally the truth. You guys are like 20 years ahead of me. So watching you do what you do and watching the progress that you're making at the stage that you are in life is inspiring as hell for me, because that is absolute proof to me that if and when I continue doing what I'm doing, when I get to your age, I'm going to be a shit ton better than I already am today. That is exciting.
Well, it's an issue of quality of life, and we don't want to give that up. As hard as we work to get it, we'd like to keep it.
Right? You know,
Yes.
it's so different, isn't it? I mean, because I know we've talked about this, right? Because there's a bunch of guys, I mean, you guys had a big group where you used to ride with and do all these things with, and a lot of these guys are no longer even participating in that because they're physically unable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's now down to one person.
Jeez.
So,
Wow. So a big group is down to one person. Damn, that sucks. Wow, I didn't realize it was like, it dwindled that much. You know, and I know that because you've shared with me, some of them have had different issues and...
yeah. And some of the issues could have been resolved by working out with somebody who knows what they're doing and who can address the
Yeah.
problems. The other thing I see is that, a lot of people my age are getting surgery, and the recovery from the surgery is worse than the original.
problem itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we see that very common, unfortunately. And for a lot of those people, surgery really wasn't necessary. They could have gone another way to correct those issues, right? But either they didn't know, or they didn't believe they could, or whatever the reason was. And it's unfortunate. It's really a shame, because that could have really been prevented and could have gone in a very, very different way. And I mean, I've been fortunate enough to meet some of your friends. I've trained a few of them and made a big difference, in some. But I've also watched others just kind of take it for granted and not do anything. And now they're in complete decline.
Yeah.
Their lifestyle is completely different than what yours and Terry's are.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to put the effort in. So
Is it worth it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Because, I mean, you're still here, you're still kicking, you're still
I'll
doing.
be here 15 years from now.
And that's the spirit. And that's the thing. I remember one of the things that I said to you guys when you decided after the wedding that you wanted to continue, right? Remember the question you asked me? So how long can we do this for? How long are you going to be around? And my response to you was basically the same as it is now, right? As long as you keep showing up, I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed, has it?
And we'll be here.
And you're like, well, I'm going to keep doing this until when?
Forever.
I remember you told me that when I'm in a box, that's basically when I'll stop.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm going to keep going. And which is really the right attitude to have.
It's an issue of quality of life. I don't want to be alive and be a vegetable or be in a wheelchair if I can do something now to delay or prevent that.
Yeah.
So it's important to me. And I had somebody ask me why I mow my lawn, and I said, because I can.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah, talk about that. Not only do you mow your lawn, but you do a ton of the tree work and housework, get up on the roof. You do all kinds of different things, don't you?
to keep active and keep my mind going and to do different things so that everything's still functioning.
Yeah, but isn't it kind of nice to actually have the ability and the strength to be able to do those things and not worry about them?
Yeah, because you can take care of it right away.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for somebody else to do it.
Right, that's pretty cool, man. I love the fact, because I mean, every time I turn around, I hear, Terry's telling me that, okay, he was up on the roof doing this, that, or he was out cutting these trees or doing this thing and that thing. But I also know that you get enjoyment out of it, besides the fact that it's work, so to speak. It's kind of neat to know that you are still capable of doing all of those things. You don't have to worry about somebody else coming for you or helping you or whatever. You don't have to wait and be at someone else's beck and call, for lack of better words, right? To take care of these things. It must feel pretty good.
Yeah, and I can move things around, I can lift things, and I know how to do it.
Yeah, and not worry about hurting yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. So good. That's awesome, Terry. Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing this.
Thank you. I'm here because of you.
Oh, no, man.
And your training.
Man, thank you. No, you're here because you've actually put in the work. One thing that I will always say about you is you've never been afraid to come in and actually do your work, and that speaks volumes.
But I could do that work and not get any result if it wasn't directed in an organized and a intelligent way, and that's what you provide. So I don't have to think about what I'm going to do in the workout because you've already figured that out for me. All I have to do is shut up and do it.
Yeah. I guess you're right about that. So it makes it a little easier for you, less
Yeah.
worry and more action and better results because of it.
It would be the same thing if I decided to be my own doctor. I don't have the training. Well, I can't be my own trainer because I don't have the training.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really great analogy actually that you used, and I wish more people would actually look at it that way, because if they understand what we do, they would put us right on par with the doctors that they go see to help them feel better after they get sick. If they understand coming here, working with someone like me, or working with someone that knows what they're doing, can actually prevent you from ever having to go see your doctors because you can't move.
And you understand the body and the muscles.
Yeah.
And it was your rehabilitation that helped me with the shoulder.
And that's
So you knew what I could do and what I couldn't do, and you were like, "Yeah, put that back. Too fast. Use this, and we'll work up to the other."
Yeah, and that's true, because when you came back, your shoulder was really, really messed up. I mean,
Yeah.
to the point where you tried therapy for 2 or 3 months, and it still didn't do anything. And we really worked on getting you back to being able to do what you were before. And it's so cool to see you now moving that shoulder, doing things with it like no big deal. And so,
Yeah, and my knee pain has, knock on wood, gone away. So,
yeah, exactly, the way it should be.
yeah.
Man, I love this. I love hearing the success stories, man, and the different things that have happened to you. So thank you for coming in and sharing.
Thank you for all the work you've done for us.
Thank you, man. It's my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. You guys are awesome. I love working with you. This has been really, really fun, and I'm looking forward to the next 15, 20 years, man, working with you guys and seeing where it is.
So are we.
Yeah. Look, man, see, I have a goal. I'd love to see you guys hit that big three digits, right? And have a big celebration when that happens. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I mean, I'm shooting for that. Somebody's got to break that record.
Yep.
So you guys are closer to it than I am. So I'm looking forward to celebrating with you first, and then eventually we can get to mine. So that'd be pretty cool. Just reading a story about just the way we are born. The average age, actually, based on our telomeres, which is the marker of how long we're supposed to live. The initial age for most of us is supposed to be somewhere between 120 and 150 years.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy when you think about the average lifespan for most people is like half of that. And the reason for that has nothing to do with what we think. It's lifestyle, habits, things that they do, things that they eat, things that they're exposed to that cuts down a lot of those times. And so watching people like you do what you're doing, watching the rest of the clients here come in and put in the work is exciting for me, because what you guys are doing in essence is you're kind of like reversing what's happening, basically making sure that you're going towards your full destination. So instead of ending where most people have already, you like going beyond that and actually getting to really find out how close to that 120 to 150 that you get to.
Yeah.
And that's exciting as heck for me to hear that, because my goal has always been to be like 197. So I'm like, hey, so if the lifespan can get me there already, if I'm doing all the right things, then I can guarantee that I'm at least going to get as close to that as possible, which is pretty damn awesome. So I like that. Again, Peter, thank you so much for being here. Guys,
My pleasure.
man, this was really, really cool. I really enjoyed having you here as a guest. You were awesome. There's a bunch of people out there that are listening that, man, if you guys have any stories that are similar to what Peter's gone through, or you have anyone that you know that can actually improve from hearing this, share this with them, pass this along. We're here to be able to help. We're here to be able to provide the right information and the right tools to be able to help you get the results that you want. Just reach out. If you have any questions, you can reach out through me on Instagram or any of the other social media platform. You can find us at Get LyonStrong. That's our handle. On our website is getlyonstrong.com. You can find us there. You can reach out through us to any medium. Ask the questions. We'll be glad to have a conversation with you and figure out if it can help you become the absolute best version that you were designed to be. Thanks so much for being here. I look forward to actually seeing you guys at the top. Have a great one.